Welcome back. Today is our very last day of Unit 6 before the practice test. Let's go ahead and look at 6.13, find standard scores, with our goal being determine z-scores that relate to given areas under the standard normal curve. So today we're going to use the same handout from yesterday, but in the exact opposite way. Yesterday, you were given z-scores and asked to find the area. Today, you're going to be given the area and asked to find the z-score. Let's do it. The first question here is review from yesterday. Can you find the area if the z-score is negative 2.86? Okay, let's see. Well, we're looking for the whole number and the decimal in the tenths place in the column on the left. So negative 2.8. And we're going to go right until we get to 0.06 on the top. So there we go. We found 0.06 on the top, and we now have our z-score. Or sorry, I should say area. Notice when we found that, we worked our way from the outside in. Now the second question is, what's the z-score if the area is this? Well, areas are where? Areas, aka probabilities, aka percentiles, are all in here. So we need to find that area. Do you see it? Let's point it out. 0.0041 is right here, and we're going to work inside out this time to find the z-score. If you take a look, that's going to be negative 2.64. The bottom line here and the big idea is if you need to find the area given a z-score, you work from the outside in, like we did here, to find your area. And if you want the z-score and you have the area, you start with the area and work from inside out. Okay? So let's practice. Find the percentile. Okay, when you're finding percentiles, there's just one added thing to think about. You're going to see it right now. Student scores on a standardized math test are normally distributed with a mean of 659. Let's highlight that. And a standard deviation of 137. They want you to find the raw score that a student would have to get to be in the 98th percentile. Now, think back to what a percentile actually means. That means the percent of others you scored better than. So that means we need to find the probability in the table that is closest to 98% or above. It could be equal to 98 or above, but it can't be below because of the definition of percentile, right? If you have 97 point something, you're not quite in the 98th percentile. So this is very key. I would write this down anytime you're dealing with percentiles and these tables. So let's find it. Do you see it? Well, notice what's nice is these go in order. 0.97. I'm not worried about the rest right now. 0.97, 0.97, 0.97. And then we get to 0.9803. Well, notice what happens after that. These numbers just get further and further away from 0.98. So that's our lucky winner. That's the one we're looking for right here, closest to 0.98. But is that our answer? No, definitely not. What's the question? Find the raw score. We need to use our raw score formula. Do you have it in your notes or remember what it is? Well, the raw score is equal to this symbol plus this symbol times this symbol. Do you remember what these stand for? The first is the mean. Z-score is, that's what Z is for, right? And this symbol is for standard deviation. They told us 137. Now, what's the Z-score? Well, you learned how to do that just a moment ago. If you have the area, you can find the Z-score working our way inside out 0.26. So, or sorry, 2.06. So let's add, and I accidentally wrote plus there. So let's follow PEMDAS. Let's multiply first and then add. Use your calculator to find your answer. Here we go. The raw score is 941. And we're done. Okay, moving on. Find the Z-score associated with a given area. Use your standard normal table and round your answer to the nearest hundredth. Which answer do you know is not possible before you do anything else? Hopefully you're thinking B. That is not rounded to the nearest hundredth. Already narrowing down our options. Can you solve it correctly? Let's see. Well, remember, when you look at those areas in your table, that shows you what? The area to the left of the Z-score. And we see Z right here, and the shaded area is purple to the left. So that means if we can find that Z-score, we can find this, we can solve it, right? So what do? We need to find the area of 0.86 in our table. Notice this one is below 0.86, but why is that okay? It's because we're only asked to find the Z-score. We're not mentioning anything about probabilities. And this value is the closest to 0.86. Now, if you're curious, if you're wondering, is this closer or this closer, you can always subtract on your calculator to see the difference. Whichever has the smaller difference is going to be your answer. Great, so we found the area, and once again, we can work our way out to find the Z-score, 1.08. Now, if you said B was the answer, you're making the mistaking the area for the Z-score. Okay, you're basically doing this in reverse. Okay. Next, notice what's shaded. Find the Z-score associated with the given area. Use your standard normal table and round your answer to the nearest hundredth. Well, all of these are rounded to the nearest hundredth. Can't knock anything out yet. Give this one a try. Is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, well, here's the thought process. Since a Z-score describes the area below to the left, and they want the area above to the right, we need to take the entire area we know as 1, which is the decimal version of 100% of the area, and subtract the given area from it. Because if we take this entire space and we subtract 0.975, we'll be left with the little bitty area we see right there. So we subtract it, we find that area, and they wanted Z-score. So now you guessed it, it's time to find that area in our table. Once again, there it is. and we work our way from inside out to find our z-score. And if you're feeling good about this, that's great, because from here on out, we're pretty much practicing. You've learned everything you need to learn today. Now it's time to sharpen our skills. Let's do it. Find the raw score associated with the 99th percentile. Round your answer to the nearest inch. Heights for 16-year-old boys are normally distributed with a mean of 68.3 inches and a standard deviation of 2.9 inches. Substitute into the raw score formula. There's your raw score formula once again. And now it's time to solve. What's the first thing you did? The first thing I would do is use my formula and plug in what I know. They told me the mean, right? Didn't tell me the z-score, but they did tell us the standard deviation. So it's all about now finding that z-score. How do we do it? What were you given? You were given a percentile, which is the same as a probability or an area. So you guessed it. Once again, you need to find that percentile that is equal to, basically greater than or equal to your percentile. Doesn't get closer than 0.9901. So the z-score there is 2.33. We now have the missing piece to the puzzle. PEMDAS again, get your answer. They wanted it rounded to the nearest inch. Well, the closest inch to that will be 75. Answer is C. Talking about money a little bit. The average balance at a savings bank is normally distributed with a mean of 580. Very low average, wouldn't you say? And a standard deviation of $100. John's balance is 680. Well, good for John. It's not a bunch of money, but at least it's better than the average. Okay? And they want to know what percent of all accounts at the savings bank have a balance less than John's. Round to the nearest whole number. So what are they really asking for? Percentile, right? Keep that in mind while you work this out. Alrighty then. We need to find the z-score using our z-score formula, because we have the mean, standard deviation, and the raw score. Notice the raw score could be money. Doesn't have to be a score on a test. So we plug those into our z-score formula. There it is again as a reminder. There's all the values in it. We get a z-score of 0.07. So stay focused. That's the z-score, not the percentile, right? We want the percentile though. So let's find the z-score of 0.7. There it is, 0.70 gives you this percentile, and they wanted it rounded to the nearest whole number. Well, that would be 76%. They asked us to round, so we're going to round. Okay, and our exit ticket. Student scores on a standardized math test are normally distributed with a mean of 659 and a standard deviation of 137. Find the 75th percentile and round your answers to the nearest whole number. Okay, did you get A, B, C, or D? Let's see if you got it right. The answer is D. Okay, you need your raw score formula, because once again, they gave you the mean, standard deviation, and this time the percentile Or actually, no, they didn't give you the percentile. That's what they want you to find. Um, so how do we do this? Well, we need our raw score formula. You put your mean there. You put your standard deviation. Now, what about the z-score? The z-score, let's see. Find the 75th percentile. So you're looking in your table for the 75th percentile in order to find that z-score. If you look around, you'll see right here is 0.74, and then as soon as you hit 0.75, that would be the closest to 75%. Work your way out to get the z-score. Now you can plug it in and find the raw score, rounding it to the nearest whole number of 752. And that, my friends, is the end of the regular lessons for Unit 6. Come back next time where we're going to start the practice tests.